What is up,
Hello.
Summer? Wow. Okay, so for anyone who doesn't know, we're going live on the podcast, which is going to be YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. And then we're also going live next door on TikTok. So if anyone sees us looking a little sideways, we're not just like being weird. We're just checking out
No,
what's going on in the TikTok world.
exactly. Check out all the outlets.
Exactly. All right. Well, hi, Summer. Hi. First of all,
Hello.
nice to meet you.
Yes, I feel like I already know you just by watching all the videos. It's like so crazy how this TikTok world has like introduced us to so many people.
Yeah, it's silly. I've talked to some people that I met through like Instagram, and I feel
Mhm.
like I don't know them as well because it's only like pictures. So I've seen
Pictures.
certain like 1 second emotion that was grabbed within, and you really don't know what happened before or after. Whereas with TikTok, you're you're seeing like a personality, and you also get to see people's values and people like
Oh, absolutely.
what are they like, what are they not like, and how do you use a certain trend, which way do you go with it, and you kind of start getting a sense of not only like characteristics but like humor and
Oh, yes. It's definitely
all.
more casual. Like or it's more like, okay, you have this photo album of photos you've put all these presets on and you've thought about this caption. And I feel like TikTok is just more like, I'm silly and this is what I'm putting out right now. And especially because when it first started, like I didn't have like a target audience or anything like that. I was just making them because we were all at home and I wanted to be funny. And then it
Yeah,
was like, oh wow, this turned into something. So
it's awesome how it goes sometimes, and I know I shouldn't, but I take TikTok's opinion into consideration where I'll post something and it just like doesn't fly, and I'm like, all right, like TikTok didn't think it was funny, like I thought this was really funny content, like
right.
I've thought of it, I wrote it down, I thought this was gonna kill, and then TikTok's like 3 views, and I'm like,
Oh,
cool, man.
yes, it's always the ones that you think are gonna get so many likes and views. Like, the algorithm of TikTok is so bizarre to me. Like, you know
It's so backwards, and I think you're spot on the fact that it's the rough version of things, and I feel like the algorithm, if it was a person, it likes things that are, like it almost wants you to be like, oh, I just filmed this in the moment.
Yep.
I didn't even have time to edit it, and I have to post it right now because the message is so urgent and
Yeah,
so authentic and true. And
yes.
so there are no edits. There are no, this is just so rough. This is just me living, and this is me
Oh,
gonna post
absolutely.
it. And I've seen it literally work with like something I'll just post randomly that I'm like kind of a
Oh,
throwaway,
yeah,
but I do
I
want to
get it.
share. Yeah. And then that's the one that blows up, and I'm like, really? And it's usually, if there's like the hidden egg where if
Yes.
you're, I don't know, eating pasta with like a knife, people are like, why are you eating pasta with a
Oh, yeah.
knife?
Yes, yes, yes. They always, like, see the background of the image or something or the video, and they're like, "What is that?"
TikTok's all about background. So kind of, this is kind of backwards, but so I was talking to my husband about, I was like, I think this idea might go viral because I think people are going to flip. And
Mhm.
so we got these pool noodles, and I wanted to secure this corners. And I was like, I'm going to go overboard and just see people freak out.
Yes.
Kind of made it as a joke. And so I went overboard. I covered all these corners, and people flipped. This
Mhm.
went viral. They're still commenting, and they're like,
Oh, yeah.
you got this, your baby's gonna choke, and you don't have baby gate. What are you doing? You're a terrible
Uh-huh.
mother, and you're this, but what about like, and they're still going, and they're still going. And then for a while,
Yeah.
you kind of upkeep. You're like, let me comment, let me comment. And then for a while, then you're just like,
No, those are, like, the best, though, like, people really it's like they comment just their initial reactions to it, and I'm like, "Did you not, like, stop?" Like, I never comment on stuff like that, like, I think it in my head, but I'm never, like, gonna say, like, "Are you crazy?" Because I
yeah,
posted one of those silly, like, to make it look like my husband was really old. Do you know what I'm talking about?
yeah.
And, like, people initially, like, thought it was real, and they're like, "Your baby's gonna grow up without a father, like, he why would you do that?" I'm like, "What? It's a joke, like, this is not real life."
Yeah, it's silly because sometimes if I do think of a comment, like sometimes whatever the content is, if I go to the comment section just to check it out, if I
Yeah.
see somebody post a similar thing,
Mhm.
maybe I'll like it to like support the person, whatever,
Sure.
but like I won't post the same thing because it's
Yeah,
already been said.
yes.
Whereas you read through some of the comments and it's like the same thing. And I sometimes want to be like, You went to the comments. You took the time to comment.
Comments. You saw I answered this question.
Yeah. Or sometimes I'm like, well, even if it's negative, I'm like, thank you for adding another comment and another view, because you're just upping the engagement. Because the longer they're on there, they're just, it goes up more. So at that point, I'm just like, thank you for trolling. It still benefits me.
Yeah. No, I need to test that theory. Like put something weird in the background that people can catch. I haven't really done that.
That was the first one that I was like, I think this might get weird. I think people are going to flip, and people did. And
I can say personally, when I saw that video, my first initial reaction was like, whoa, like so many noodles. And then I was like, oh, it's like obviously for the video. I mean, a little bit is, duh, first mom. But that's the point, reality versus funny.
I wanted to exaggerate it. And that's usually within comedy, you exaggerate an example.
Baby.
Yeah, but I think you also understand that as a creator, because you understand the different things, and even knowing that like lighting is important, or different angle, or doing different transition, or like how do you attach the song to the trend, understanding those things make sense. But to those who aren't creators, which are usually the ones who will comment all the negative stuff, but like have never posted a video, for them, it's not a conversation. It's just a point for them to express their opinion, because they
absolutely.
And I feel bad they don't have self-expression. I wish everybody would post. I think everyone should like get into it. But I think because they are a little more like cooped in, they just want to, hey, well, I think this, and everyone should read my comment, and this is what I think.
Real. Like they think that everything is just like your everyday life. And here's the thing, like the get ready with me, the day in the life, all of that is real to a certain extent. But of course, you're going to have better lighting. Of course, you're going to do your makeup better. You're going to make your life seem a little bit more perfect, or a little bit more funny, or whatever it is. And that's just part of it. And it kind of gives you a better respect for like celebrities nowadays, like because you realize like all those posts, like people were looking at them. They needed that, and so it's
I also think people don't consider the fact that, let's say the get ready post, for example, they see it and it's like, oh, they wake up in the morning, all of this. And it's like, do you really think that person that wakes up, let's say their wake up says 4 a.m. and it's well lit, like it's not well lit in their room. So they woke up, they set up their tripod, they turn on their phone, they put it in the corner, they shot the action. Maybe they didn't like it. They deleted it. They did it again. Then they took their tripod, they went to the bathroom, they stood there. They didn't like that shot. Then they changed, and no one does. Your camera's not just in the kitchen when you enter. You first went to the kitchen, set it up, went back, redid it. Like it all takes like 3 times the amount of the time.
Yes. It doesn't
this is real.
Authentic either. Like that is part of your life. I mean, half of my TikToks, I literally put my phone in the refrigerator because it's the best lighting. And it's still real life. The pictures of me holding the baby, he's asleep for real. Like, it's not like it's fake news over here, but like you do, it's a certain amount of like setup to go into it. So it is kind of funny. And we do have to remember that, like when we're looking at other people's videos, and not judging ourselves. And I mean, that's huge into motherhood. We're watching the mom, holding her baby. And, I'm not going to post pictures of my baby crying on TikTok. Does he cry? Absolutely. And we're scrolling. We need to remember that. And, I think it's important to put that out there, for everybody.
I think TikTok has opened up my life to how many moms there are, and how many different styles of parenting there is, and how differently people do it, as well as how passionate some moms can be, whether that's good or bad. That's for somebody else to decide. Granted, I'm really passionate about the path that I chose and the way that I am with the baby. And so I choose to share it. And whoever wants to take something from it, great. Whoever doesn't like it, that's great also. I don't like it when the passion comes in with the mom shaming, mom judgment, where they're like, well, that's not the way I did it. I'm like, great.
Right.
I'm not you. You're not me. And we don't. But I appreciate how like I don't like the negativity of it, but I do like it that they are passionate, I guess, in some sense. So
and you're just always going to get, both sides of those. And, in a platform like that where people are very like, they feel like they're behind the keyboard, right? And they can type anything. You're going to get both sides. You're going to get all the positive. And I've had so many comments of just, and it makes me feel so good about myself and like, I mean, proud, right? As a mother. And then other times you're like, oh, wow, like, should I have done that? Or even if it's not a comment directed towards me, maybe you're seeing another video and someone's
Yeah.
commenting about something. And also, I didn't realize like how, I knew people had opinions about parenting. Like I obviously am not naive to that, but until becoming a parent, I just didn't realize how much like opinions, I mean, they are just forced upon you, and especially through social media. And like, I didn't even know there was these differing parenting types. Like
Yeah.
even before I gave birth, I was like, wait, there's 2 different types of parents, or there's 10 different types of parents, and I have to pick one? Like, no, just, whatever
Yeah.
comes natural. But just, the pressure that's put on us to like, hey, are you this kind of parent, or are you this kind of parent? Like, are you a granola parent, or are you not? Like, what does that mean? And it's just
Yeah.
crazy.
It's wild that people have gotten so attached to like an identity, like they're
Yeah.
letting the term be an identity, and it's
Yes.
become really popular. I feel like, and maybe I just didn't know about it, so maybe I was oblivious, and it's just more apparent to me now. But it seems like it has become more, almost like a fad, where it's like,
Yes.
oh, I am, like a crunchy mom, and it's like
Mhm.
that becomes your whole identity,
And it's
or
your full identity.
yeah. And I feel like it's similar with like sexuality. People are like, oh,
Mhm.
well, I like this or I like that, or I'm this way and
Yeah,
I'm that way. I'm like, but you are so much more as a person.
exactly.
I can't say that I'm just like, let's natural mom. Like I am, and that's the path I chose, but like that doesn't identify me. It also
No,
doesn't mean that I don't get hot Cheetos and like go bananas on those.
absolutely.
And I- maybe it's a lack of identity.
Mhm.
And so people pick a word that they're like, hey, this is what I'm going to be, and I'm going to stick to it. And then I'm going to be passionate. I'm going to fight for it because
Mhm.
this is going to be who I identify as.
Yes.
But it seems like they hold on to it so tight. And if somebody says something that's different
Mhm.
than that definition of that word, they get really offended. They're like, wait,
Yeah.
no, that's not what I am. I'm this way. And this is why. And you're being offensive because you didn't like, it's a struggle where people feel like they've been offended that the term doesn't agree, but like, it's just a word. If you,
Just a word. And it's very cliquish. And I guess,
yeah,
I don't know, maybe it's like a good thing that I didn't know too much about it before becoming, a mom, because it probably would have just like caused anxiety. But like I guess I kind of realized it from TikTok, to be honest. Like TikTok, Instagram, and then you start looking at all these hashtags and you're like, wait, is this like, am I this kind of mom? Why do I have to be called this? Like,
yeah,
can I be both? Or is this just my natural way of parenting? And that's kind of how me and my husband looked at it. Like, we didn't read like a ton of parenting books. We didn't, I mean, we took the hospital classes, right, where they teach you like how to care for a human being, but like
mhm,
we didn't have an idea in our head, and we were like, okay, we're going to do what feels natural. And it was like, a month in, and we were doing all these things, and we were like, why are we doing this? Like, why are we parenting like this? Like, is it because society told us to? Like, let's just stop listening to everybody and do it how we want to. And I swear it changed our lives. I mean, we became the parents that we didn't know we wanted to be, but now
uh,
we know we would do nothing different, right? And it's
yeah,
just, oh, it's so much better. I feel like it like just freed me, right? Like I was like, oh my gosh, like I love being a parent because I stopped trying to be what he wanted us to be,
mhm,
not directly, but just society.
yeah.
And
But
um,
it's weird how much weight that puts on us,
yeah.
especially as moms. And then you're a first time mom, so you don't know what you're facing. It's so unknown. And then these usually moms who are first, second, third, whatever, since they are so experienced,
Mhm.
they feel almost entitled to share how you should be doing it.
Yes,
And I think it comes from a loving way. It's like, well,
I
this
think
worked for me,
so.
so let me tell you.
Absolutely.
But I want the free, I had to do very similar thing where I
Mhm.
had to, we also didn't do any like baby books.
Mhm.
I did one that the doctor gave me just to see the expectations, although I had to put it down towards the end because, of course, they want to prep you for everything, but they were giving all of these finales that could happen. And it was
Oh, yeah.
almost terrifying. And I was
Oh,
like,
of course. Very
I,
scary.
and I understand that you want to be prepared for it and you want to know what might happen. But literally gave me so much anxiety. And I was like, what if this happens? And what if this happens? And I started like feeling sick. And I was like,
Yeah.
just thinking about that might cause these things because I'm putting pressure on myself and the baby. Like,
Right.
so I just had to put it away. And I think you had your pregnancy through COVID as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We had it through COVID, and our hospital wouldn't like let people go in together,
Right.
which was so unfortunate and whatever. But we couldn't do a class. And so I thought
Yeah,
about
we
doing it
had to do it online.
Yeah, I thought about doing it online, and then every time I like missed it. And then
Mm-hmm.
when I was like, okay, I'm gonna do it last minute, but I'll do it. And then we actually had birth like before it happened.
Oh,
So we
right.
just I
Yeah,
was like,
which it's fine.
yeah. So I'm kind of glad maybe I don't know. Sometimes I'm like, maybe I would have learned something that I should have learned. And then at the same time, like I'm kind of glad because maybe I would have had to force myself to unlearn it.
Exactly.
'Cause
Yes.
sometimes people tell you something and you're like, oh, this is the way I must do it, especially if you don't know the right way to do it. When somebody shares it, you're like, oh, then I'll do it this way. And then what we've experienced, like things just didn't line up. And then you're like, let me go in reverse. Let me go in reverse really quick. What is it that I want to do? How is it that I want to do it?
Yes.
And
What comes in natural.
yeah, I've started listening to my mother instincts. Like as soon as she arrived and they put her on me, she pooped on me. And I said, you are now mine. You will be attached here. We will be together forever.
Yes.
And one time I posted like this video about her being up really late and she's
Mhm.
just loves being up late. And then somebody commented, they're like, well, you need to do sleep training and you're doing this wrong. And I was like, I totally understand sleep training and I
Yeah.
appreciate those who do it and it works for them. And like,
It's
you
their
do you, but I'm really needy. Like,
Yeah.
and I hate like she's cried maybe 4 times, like in
Yeah.
general. So I
Yeah.
can't hear her cry. Like it
Yes. Same.
I can't do it. I can't do it. I'm weak. I'm so
I
weak in
am
that.
too. I know. Trust me. Trust me.
Yeah. And so I'm like, no, I would rather stay up and my schedule allows it. And we are like,
Your schedule allows it. It's part of your life. It's not lasting forever.
yes, I like the TikTok you recently posted. I think it's from the song Taylor Swift, Ours.
Mhm,
My
mhm.
time is theirs.
Yes.
And it's so
It's
true.
so
Like
true, isn't it?
it like resonated with me. I was like, girl, yes. Like it our kids aren't an inconvenience.
Mhm. Yes.
We are given this honor
Yes.
to help this baby out, to
Yeah.
help them grow, to help them develop. And people are like, oh, you're spoiling the baby. I'm like, it's a
It's
baby.
a baby. And also, like, it's very crazy, and I didn't realize this either, once again, until after I became this mother, and, like, all these products that are, like, placed on the market, and it's literally taking our jobs. Like, and like, you're trying not to be that person, now that we're moms, and, like, we just were talking about that, the
Yeah.
opinions, but, like, when I have friends or just random people who are pregnant, like, I just wanna reach out and be like, "Oh, don't get that, don't get that." Like, do you realize that's you? Like, and I promise you, you'll be so much happier if you just have the bond with your child.
Yeah.
Like, if they're crying, pick them up. And like, there's so many questions like, "Oh, well, my baby's this, old and they're not sleeping at night. What's the reason?" And I'm like, "Because they're a human.
Yeah.
Like, don't
Sometimes
you
we
get
don't
up in
sleep.
the middle of the night? Don't you get sick?" Like, we're like forgetting that these babies are real human beings. And I know that sounds so crazy because why would we forget that? But it's true. They're like, we're treating them like robots. And like,
Yeah.
it's so freeing to just be, just anything they need. You're not spoiling them. You're not, yeah, if
Yeah.
they're crying and you got to use the bathroom, set them down. You're not a bad mom. But
Mhm.
like, if your baby's crying and they need you, get up, like get them, like stay up
Yeah.
with them late. They're not going to stay up for the rest of their lives. Like, you know what I'm saying? So,
They'll sleep in. I really struggle with that when people are like, well, my baby's always crying, or like the baby's crying, and you just need to let them like, cry it out. And I think
right.
that is their only way of communicating.
Only way. Their only way.
They don't mean to cry and upset you. That's not what they're trying to do. They're not trying to be annoying. This is their only way
Yeah.
to express there is a concern. It might not be a big concern. It might not be a big thing. It might
Right.
be the diaper. They might have
It
gas
could be
issues. They
anything.
might just want to be held. Like
Right.
they just want, like, I always think like, okay, if I don't know anybody,
Mm.
I want to be close to somebody I know. I just want to be
Yes.
close to them, be like,
Yes.
please talk to me because I don't know what's going on. I don't know what this is. I don't know what I'm feeling. I was thinking about it the other
It's
day.
literally been on the earth for like, less than a year.
They don't know what regular objects are. They don't know what feelings are. I was thinking about it the other day, like it was kind of stormy and I was getting a headache. And I was like, I haven't considered the fact that what if my baby has a headache? That pressure is around. And so she could be fussy because of just like something out of her control. And it doesn't mean that she's being cranky or has colic or like whatever all those things are. It's just
right.
She just wants a little attention. She just wants to be held, and they just want to be with who they see as safety and home, which is their mom. Like that
We're that
mom. Yeah. And so I really struggle when I hear the things of like, well, you're spoiling the baby and this. I'm like, they don't have any other way to communicate. Once she can talk and walk and choose her own things, God bless her. I hope she still wants to hang with me.
Right. And maybe like it, and now here's the thing, crying is always okay. Like we cry too, but maybe like, when they're older, you're going to have other options. So maybe if they are crying, of course, tell me, use your words. That's appropriate then. But as a baby, there's no other way to express it. And it's just, what do we expect?
It's rough. Another thing I constantly hear is like, well, they adapt so fast, and kids in general just adapt so fast. And I'm like, well, as adults, as a mom, I've adapted really fast also. Like whatever comes our way, we adapt. And so when they're like, well, they'll adapt really fast if you start this routine or if you do it this way. And I'm like, or I can help them through right now while they're helpless in a way. Exactly. And when they are capable of doing things on their own, they can learn within a day as they would have back then, whatever it is they need to learn. Like something inside of me feels like I need to be there for the baby. And I like having birth and having a baby be inside of you and all that. Like it's the most natural, magical thing that you have to trust your instincts. Like, even to go way back, even to go way back in like cavemen days, like they figured it out. They did it. Animals do it. And they don't even have the language to communicate. So they only trust their instincts. And I feel like all these things are kind of put in front of us to make our lives easier, but to shut off the instincts, to make you be behind a keyboard, to not be personal. And I struggle with it. I struggle with it a lot because I see the connection me and my baby have and see connections. I mean, all babies and their moms will have a connection. Of course. I hate it when obstacles are thrown in to create distance between mom and baby.
Oh, I know, like that. And it never hit me until becoming a mom and the relationship I have with my baby. And it's like, it's really hard. Like it's very like emotional when you see a mom almost disconnected. And it's not shaming them by any means, but it's like they've just maybe listened to like other opinions about, like I'm just going to say like I'm not an advocate for sleep training. Like I just don't like it. And I feel like it gives a lot of people anxiety. I mean, I just think some babies just sleep well. And so if you're successful with it, like you might just have like a good sleeping baby, right? But like, it makes me sad like when you just see moms struggling and I'm like, just like go back to like you said, the cavemen, like they all did it. Just like you are a mammal, you know what I mean? Your baby needs you. Just everything that you feel comes natural, do it. And I promise you'll be happier. But but then again, we're not experts either. So like why is anyone listening to me?
Yeah.
Right. Like why is anyone listening to my opinion?
But I think this is why, like internally, I wanted to start the podcast because I do want to listen to other people's opinions. I want to hear the different stories and I want to take what's going to fit me best. And I want other moms to take that as well. And to also know that you don't have to listen to one person. Different things work for different people. But what's worked for me is listening to my internals, to listening everything that's going on in my heart and my brain. And I had to shut some things off because they were a distraction. And once I started listening to my heart, like what just feels right? What is it that I need to do? And something just speaks to me, whether it's God, whether it's my mother, like instincts, like something tells me. And there's certain points where I'm like, I'm ready to let her do this. I'm ready to let go of this point. I'm ready to do this. Or something's off. Someone's telling me like, no, your baby's fine. I'm like, that's not what I feel. And let's figure that out. But the way babies communicates, like they'll look at you and you know exactly what they're thinking because you just get that connected. And so if you are that connected, you are able to see what it is that they want. But if you create that
Yeah.
disconnection and you treat, oh, they're just crying because they're crying, or they're doing this because they're just doing
Right.
this. It's similar with like a relationship. If you hang out with somebody for a really long time, you start talking like that person, you start just giving them a look to your best friend, and you're like, okay, I know what you're thinking. And with strangers, you wouldn't have that.
Yeah.
And so
It's the look, like,
yeah. And so if you create that distance between anybody, that communication gets distant. And it's, I don't know, I just feel like it's so
what builds
promoted.
that, being around the person.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I just feel like it's, like I said, promoted, where it's like, oh, and I'm so for moms doing whatever they want to do. And I was like pro being independent. I'm going to be this boss mom. And then once I had my baby, I was like, I don't ever want to leave you. Like, let's hang all the time.
Yes, no, totally. So I literally went in, like, I was pregnant, about to give birth. And I remember sitting down in our kitchen with my parents, and my mom kept saying, what's your plan? Like, daycare, what are you doing? I'm like, yeah, duh, daycare. Like, I was a teacher. So I was like, I'm going back to work. It's not a question. Obviously, I'm going to love my baby. I want them to be safe. So we're going to pick the best daycare. And we were fortunate enough where, being a teacher, obviously the pandemic, summer break, all this stuff. My husband got some time off of work, so he did not have to go to daycare for until he was like 7 months. So, we get there, and I'm like, it's going to be good. And I can't even tell you the feeling that came over me, like the day we dropped him off. And I know everyone's like, everyone was like, oh, you're going to be fine. Like, you'll cry the first day, it'll be a rough day, and you'll get over it. And I'm like, okay, well, every single day, and I'm at work, and you just have like this pit in your stomach. And I'm like, okay, this is not what I'm supposed to be doing. Like, and me and my husband had the conversation, and then finally it just both hit us. And he's like, what are we doing? Like, quit. Just quit. And it's just like, it was the best decision. I just didn't realize, like, I did not realize that's how I was going to be. And I don't think anyone can tell you, because nobody knows how you're going to feel. Some moms are totally like rocking the working mom thing, and their babies are great at daycare. And I don't see anything less, for those women. I'm not like judging them or shaming them for going to work. It just wasn't what worked for our family.
Yeah.
So I know it does sound silly. Like, you didn't think you're going to be that attached, and then you are.
Yeah. But just to come back to that TikTok you posted.
Yeah.
It is their time, and it
is.
Sometimes I'll have like rough days where I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't get anything done. I started like 3 online businesses. I'm trying to do this podcast. I'm trying to run the social media, and it sounds lame. Like, oh, it's just likes and like comments, but like it takes time, and I don't want to be on my phone in front of my baby. So I only pull it out when she's sleeping. And sometimes I'm like, I didn't get anything done, or like, I'll just get down on myself. And then I'm like, it's all right, because I need to make sure I give her the time right now.
Yes.
Because once she's older, I'm not going to be able to get it back, but I will be able to post and comment. That's never going away. And if it does go away, it doesn't matter what I comment and posted now, it's all going to go away. And so I find myself battling those things where I'm like, oh, I want to be a little selfish. And I think it's fine to be a little selfish with your time to make sure your cup is full.
Absolutely.
But I think it is important to give him that time to be with them, to help them through, especially when they can't like move or talk. Like, again, once she's walking, talking, and she says,
the biggest.
When they want to go and do their thing, like totally free, like go play, go hang out with somebody else, like go do what you need to do. But right now, if you're asking for milk and I'm the one that provides you the milk, or you're just not feeling well, you just want to cuddle.
You're providing their basic needs. And that's what was just like killing me when I was at work. So Palmer like never took a bottle. We tried, but he would be at daycare not eating. So he literally would not eat all day. He would not sleep in the crib. And so I'm sitting at work, and, they have little daycare cameras, and he's just like crying. And I'm like, what am I doing? Like, my baby's not upset because he's having some like social anxiety, with friends. He's crying because he's not getting his basic needs,
Yeah.
and it's like, yeah, this is their time. Like when he's 5 years old, he can be at school and he can be eating his little school lunch. And yeah, I might miss him. He might miss me, but he's getting his needs met. Does that make sense? Like when
Yeah.
they're babies and we're like their sole provider, like I'm literally his food. And like my mom, she would like semi joke about this, but be serious. She's like, Summer, make sure like, if you get sick, because obviously pandemic, like we all have that risk. She was like, what's your game plan? How are you going to feed the baby? And I'm like, oh my gosh, you're so right. Like I am his like food, like I'm his
Yeah.
food supply. What do we do? And oh, like it's just like it makes you feel strong as like a woman and as a parent, like knowing that we provide that to our babies, but it's also like exhausting, and it gives you a lot of anxiety to know like I'm keeping this baby alive.
Yeah.
Um,
It's a
so
lot of
how can I
pressure.
work through that? It's a lot of pressure. It's a lot of pressure.
When
So
we talked to our pediatrician, that concern came up, and I was like, what happens if I get sick? And,
mhm.
what do we do? Do we supplement? Do we substitute? What do we need to
Yeah,
do?
yeah,
And she was very strict about the fact that, like, if you're sick, you need to make sure to actually feed the baby even more to make sure whatever
interesting.
bacteria, antibodies, antibacteria you're getting,
Yeah,
the baby's also getting that stuff. And you're just like,
true.
oh, wow. So they're learning and adjusting their immune
Yep,
system just like you are. And I didn't know
exactly.
about this, but apparently, like, smelling and kissing your baby is important because you're
Yes.
taking in the bacteria and then you're feeding them what it is they need to do to not get sick and to feel
Exactly.
well. And it's such a crazy, like, if you just think about it, you're like,
Oh,
you're
isn't it
providing a
crazy?
liquid that feed, like, they're full from it. It's not just like juice or water. Like, they can
Right.
survive, and you watch them get bigger and bigger and bigger. And you're just
Because
like,
of you.
yeah, it's
And
so
that's what's
wild to me.
so weird that like so we really didn't start like feeding Palmer like food until like maybe like a month ago. And so like that's what's really weird is the fact that he was like all the growth was literally from me. Like what?
It's so
Like how?
weird.
Like
It's
what in
so
this like
weird.
mystery substance? I'm like, what is this crazy stuff?
Yeah,
Yeah. It makes
it's
you
like
just feel
the
like
magic. Yeah, and people say it's like, if they have baby acne, you put breast milk on it. If they have
right.
any issues, you just put breast milk on it, and it just
Mhm.
works. Like, it's this miracle
Yeah.
liquid. I heard somewhere, I don't remember how I looked it up, but like Cleopatra back in Egypt
Mhm.
used to bathe in breast milk. Like, she was just like, put me in a hot tub with breast milk, and she just wanted like youthful skin, and apparently worked really well.
Well,
So
maybe we could like start doing that. I actually like I don't know if you have, but I don't have like a big supply like in the freezer just because he wouldn't take bottles. So I just like, why am I pumping, right?
mhm.
But now I'm like, wait, should I like build like up a supply so I can
So
keep
this is kind of silly. So I also don't have a big supply. We just
yeah.
boob it up and kind of go.
Right, exactly.
But one time I like pumped a bottle full and I put
Mhm.
it in those like ice cubes silicone
Yes,
things.
yes.
And I haven't done it yet, but what I want to do is like take it out and like use it as a toner on my face.
Wait, that is the best idea
I
ever.
don't know if
Um,
that's weird, but that's my plan. So if you want to try it with me, I'm
I
totally
mean, we
game.
should go live on TikTok while
Yeah,
we're
okay. Just like with
I
like a
would
cotton pad. So I kind of started when she had a little bit of baby acne, and I would pump a little and then dip like a cotton pad and then rub it on
yeah, yeah,
her
yeah.
face. And then I would dip another cotton pad and I'd rub it on
Yeah.
my face. And you feel, because it dries, you kind of
Yes.
feel it tightening your skin. And so
Oh.
I did it a little bit when she was going through her like acne phase, and then we stopped.
Yeah,
But then
right.
just in case, I like made a little bit. And then I was gonna make more because I'm just assuming it's gonna work, and I'm
Right.
hoping it's just gonna work well. Um, but I've only so far just made one tray. And I mean, it's like
Right.
40 in there. So it's like a month full if I was to just use it as a toner.
So
Plus,
it could be like a month's supply of it.
yeah. Plus, I don't know if you've seen that again a TikTok, but like that trick with when you freeze a cucumber and you just use it as a moisturizer on your
Yes, yes,
face. So
yes.
it's like
I've seen
cooling.
that.
Yeah, I did it and it actually like just feels really refreshing, especially after you
Right.
work out. And so I'm like, I think the coldness
Mhm.
plus the minerals from the breast milk,
Yep.
I think I have magic in my freezer.
So, with your, like, belly butter,
Yeah.
like, I'm not saying you should put it in all of it because some
Okay, so somebody asked me if I
should
had
you have,
put
like,
it in there.
a line, like, a specific line of, like, "This is the breast milk butter, like, if wanna purchase that,"
You're so
or, like, people could send it in, their own. I'm just saying, like, I would do that.
wait. That's really smart. Somebody had asked me if I had put my breast milk in it because they're like, "This works like magic." Like, I made it just to try it, and then I ended
Right.
up getting such great results that I'm like, "What did I make? How did I create
How
this
did yeah.
magic?" Yeah, and I'd love to send you a jar if you'd like.
Oh,
Uh,
yes, I would.
girl, and oh my goodness, what a good idea, though.
Mhm.
I was like, maybe it'd be silly and maybe people would get weirded out if I'm putting my breast milk in it, but I wouldn't mind because I've got
Yeah,
it
I
in
mean,
its
I
mold.
I wouldn't be weirded out. I mean, that's what I'm saying. You could have, like, a separate line of, like, "This is the breast milk one, FYI." Um,
Yeah. I also
but
like the idea of sending it in. I saw this girl who takes if you send in her breast milk, she, like,
mhm,
recomposes it and puts it in a jewelry so you can have a ring with
yes,
your breast you saw okay,
yes,
and
I've
I thought
seen
that
that,
was
yeah,
so special and so
very
cute.
cool.
I wonder if I can look in because the breast milk, the nutrients and the vitamins that it would have for you and the baby, because it like,
Mhm,
whatever you do and eat, your minerals and nutrients all change to benefit you in the long run. So
right,
whatever you're producing is benefiting not only you and the baby, like,
right.
that would be the magic cream.
Well, it would be, like, personable, right, it would be, like,
Yeah,
for you, because like, even though any breast milk is good breast milk, it's still not you know what I'm saying?
yeah.
So, gosh, it would be
This would
cool
be, like,
to
directly, perfectly
yeah,
made for you.
for
I was
you.
I was talking to another girl, previously, but I read this thing that if you spit on your food, if you put your DNA on the food, it will grow to nurture you and kill all the negative bacteria and
Oh,
provide
okay,
things
yeah,
for you. And plants adapt to benefit you. And so similarly,
right,
like plants, but mammals, we change and adapt. Kind of like I was saying, if you're sick, you should definitely feed your baby because whatever
yes.
bacteria. So then this could be like the most personable,
Mhm, exactly,
beneficial thing.
exactly.
Maybe
Or
you can
even
send me some breast milk. I could
oh,
make it
yes, and we'll test it.
and send it and try it.
Yes. I mean, that would be it's kind of what is the shampoo brand where you, like, customize it? You have to, like, answer the quiz and it
Oh, yeah, they
I'm
have cute bottles. I don't know if the
yeah,
stuff works, but, like, the bottles, I'm like, they did good marketing. Those are just
yes,
cute.
for sure. So
Yeah.
that's kind of like that, like,
Which makes sense because not all creams work for everybody. Not all
no,
things I originally made it because I just didn't like the ingredients that I read in, like, the most successful brand that's out there, and I was like, "What the
yes,
flark am I putting on my body?"
yes,
Like, if this gets absorbed, I'm cautious about things that I eat. I need to make
yep,
sure I'm cautious about things I put on my body, especially putting
absolutely.
things on the baby.
Oh, yes.
And so I wanted things like it has oils and butters, and the oils kind of penetrates the butter. I'm just like bragging about my stuff.
Oh,
Anyway,
no,
but it works really well. And although it's not specialized for people, so far we've seen great results because it's
yeah, of
natural. Like it's all
course.
just, it doesn't have the chemicals in it. I am so interested in this breast milk idea. I'm
I
like,
know.
need to get to it right now.
I know, it's like when you have an idea, like, I just have to, like, hop on it and do it
Yeah.
immediately. That's kind of
How
like
would I go
so
about how would you go about sending your breast milk in like a
I don't know.
freezer?
So, you could probably reach out to, like, one of those ladies on Etsy and just see, like, how they
Ooh,
get the breast milk because if it has to be, like, refrigerated,
yeah.
you know what I'm saying? Like,
Mhm.
I don't know, maybe I guess it doesn't because 'cause you're not eating it, you know what I mean? Like, it would
Yeah.
still be beneficial even if it was because when they're making the jewelry, it doesn't matter because they, like, dry it up or something. But
I
if
wonder
you're
if you could
putting
dry
it
it up, like, if you boil it to
yeah,
I need to look into this because this might be a really good idea.
right. As long as no one's consuming it, it
Yeah.
doesn't really matter. And it's still beneficial. So that's and, you could even, like, market it as, like, if you've had breast milk sitting out that you can't feed your baby, but you still wanna
Oh my
use it,
god,
right?
yeah.
'Cause they
Because there's some
say,
people
like
who have so much
right,
in the
like, the
freezer.
people who are really using it, like,
Yeah,
like, that's how they're feeding their baby. They're pumping, and that's I mean, the worst thing when your baby doesn't take a bottle or
yeah.
when I was going to work and pumping, just to keep my supply up, I would, like, always accidentally keep it in the car. Like, I would pump all day and not bring the milk in. And thank God, like, the baby wasn't eating it, right? Still, I'm like, I did that for nothing, you know?
Yeah.
Besides, I guess I did. It was helping my supply. But,
Yeah.
when I would forget it in the car, I'm like, "Oh, come on." Like, it's so sad, right? But, a lot of people have, like, just a collection of milk, and they're like, "Oh, the baby can use it in the bath," or,
Yeah.
whatever. So that could be, like, how you could market it. Like, "Hey, did you, leave out your breast milk? Put it in the put it in the body butter."
No, it's true. This
Yeah,
is really good idea. I think we're really onto something here.
I think so. It's exciting.
Okay. I'm gonna look into how I can get breast milk from now. I'm just like a drug dealer, but with breast milk.
I mean, but think about the things that are shipped, like, around the world. So,
Yeah.
that's reminding me of, and I don't know if you guys did this, but, when we gave birth, we were gonna donate, the cord blood, right? Because we didn't wanna keep it for ourselves because it was expensive to store it, and my husband researched it, and he's like, "Well, we should just donate it because, like, someone can use it, and then if we ever need, cord blood, like, we can just borrow stuff." And it was free and whatever. So I had to fill out all this information. Well, we ended up not being able to do it because we gave birth, like, after, or it was, like, right, it had to be before 3 p.m. on a Friday, right? But
Wow.
anyways, like, FedEx came and picked it up like that, or they would have.
Uh-huh.
Like, I'm like, "Wait, what?" And, like, since it was COVID, like, they couldn't come into the hospital, so we had to take it to a FedEx mailbox. Like, this baby cord blood
Mm.
shipped through FedEx.
It's like you're filling out
So
those things. Is there anything dangerous or weird? You're like, not
yeah.
really, but like only cord blood.
So I'm just thinking, like, if you can ship that through FedEx,
Yeah.
you
Well, right
definitely can.
now they're shipping like food and all that stuff that's like
Right, food. I
technically
mean,
fresh.
right, so it's easier than we think. I mean, they literally ship everything, right? So that should be simple, and like I said, if you don't have to keep it cold, then who cares? I mean, should
Yeah.
they even do, like, breast milk, like, you've heard of, like, women who, like, work, go on business trips, and they have those systems where, like, you can pump your breast milk and they'll come pick it up. Have you heard of that?
No, but that's like the new future milkman.
It literally is. You pump, and then they have this, like, I mean, I'm sure there's other companies, and I don't even know the one that I looked up, but it was like, yeah, they'll come get it from your hotel room, and then they'll deliver it to your baby back home. That's wild.
That's wild technology. That's like, and somebody thought about that, they already
Oh,
thought
yeah,
about it and put this thing in route. They're like, this is what we're gonna
exactly.
do. Interesting.
Yeah, so
I still
we
have my placenta. They're like, do you want to donate it or do you want to take it home? And I read this thing, and I don't know if it's true, but I'm just going to
yeah.
tell you about it and whatever. But somebody was saying that sometimes what they do at hospitals is like take the placenta or
Mhm.
anything from the delivery and they like sell it almost on like the black market
Oh,
because the baby cell like stem cells are
yes,
so rejuvenating and can like heal a broken leg. And
right.
so some people take it and sell it for bad things, although they say it's for good things.
Wait,
And
so
so,
that's scary.
yeah. And so I got really nervous because there's
So
all of
did you take
these,
it home? Did they let you have it? I mean, I guess
yeah,
it's
they were really like trying to impose that they need to have it. They're like, but you don't want to
it
take it. And I was
makes
like,
it seem
no,
so much sketchier.
exactly. So that's what I thought was weird.
Oh, if I, give birth again, which I want to, I am taking it.
Yeah, it's still in my freezer. I have this thought of so I grow my own like avocado trees from these
Yeah,
pits and I was doing it especially when I was pregnant. And right when I brought Paisley home, this one seed started sprouting. So it's like her tree and I'm like
that's
really
great. Yeah.
and I heard that you can bury the placenta in ground.
Yes, I've
And if you
heard
put a
that.
tree over it, it will grow and it'll have these benefits. And I want this to be like her tree with all these
Oh, that would
benefits
be
and she can
cool.
just live with avocado. But so it's still in my freezer. And it's
Yeah.
weird. I'm like, I hope nobody ever, not that we have like company over often, but if anybody,
Right?
it's like, what is this?
What
But
is
yeah, so
this?
I heard that and I thought it was so weird. And I thought it was so weird that they kept pressing me about it. The fact like, hey, no, like if it's too heavy or if it expires, like we can just keep it. We can just take it. We can just take it. I'm like, no, it's all right. Like I want to keep it. It's mine.
That
That's my
is so
organ.
bizarre. like, I kind of want to test that theory, like, to see what they'll say to me.
See what they say.
Now,
And
they were very into it, though. So this is funny, but I have a picture where they, like, took the tail of it and they made it
yeah,
into a heart. And, like, they were just trying to, like, I was like,
yeah,
"Take all the photos." I mean, obviously, I'm like,
yeah,
I had, like, a camera set up, and I'm like, "Take every video you can, like, every
yeah.
picture." So the girl was very sweet, and she, like, made it into, like, a little heart shape, and but that's the last I saw of it. I don't know what they did with it.
And so that's why I wonder, like, I'm so for the idea of,
Mhm,
like, if it's gonna benefit somebody in actual need, but
mhm.
then you hear about these, like, organ markets where they, like, cut up
Oh,
people and give them money because they need to, like, I don't know, I heard this story, and then I did some research that baby stem cells and anything,
yes. No,
it
yes,
just
it's all been on, like, that side of the internet, like,
yeah, and it's so then I just don't know the person who is gonna what they are gonna do with it, so I felt
right.
more protected if my family would benefit from it than,
Yeah,
I don't
something
know, a
bad.
celebrity who, like, just wants to look pretty and whatever they put in their face masks. I don't know where they get their stuff.
Well, now I'm,
It's
like,
not belly
thinking
butter, so
selfishly, I'm like, "Why didn't I keep it to put on my face?" Like, should we use
yeah,
it for ourselves?
that's the other thing. It's like, well, what are you
Wait,
guys
is
doing
this
with it?
another body butter ingredient?
Yeah. Not that I have it in my freezer still. I wonder if there's a TikTok about it. I feel like TikTok teaches me so many things. I need to see
I think, yes.
how did they extract.
No, now that would get a lot of views. So what you need to do is, like, get it out and, like, pretend you're, like, preparing it.
That's what I'm doing instead of,
You
like,
know what
cutting a
I mean?
burrito, I'm cutting a placenta, just be
Right,
like,
right, like, that's the background, like, little Easter egg, right? Is
yeah.
your husband's, like, preparing the placenta in the
Instead of
background, and you're
turkey, it's the placenta, it's just
like,
stuffing it.
that guys, I don't know if you watch Keeping Up with the Kardashians, but there's an episode where they, like, eat the placenta, and they, like, they trick them. They don't really, but, like, they're like, "And by the way, that was the placenta," and everyone's like, "What? Like, you fed us that?" So, I don't know.
So
There's
that's
something.
another thing is that people did freak out about that and would, but from, like, older time, that's what
Mhm.
people would do because the minerals in it.
Right.
And similarly, when I was doing the research about the, belly button clipping, the
Mhm.
cord clipping, if you
Yeah.
extend it,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Which
it's
did your hospital my hospital did that. They, like,
I asked them and they did, but it was like it would seem like maybe 3 minutes, and they
well,
said that
I
it was
know, that's what I was gonna
plenty.
ask. What is extended? Because I mean, it couldn't have been that long. I don't know,
So
but
from what I read, if you could do it up to 7 minutes,
yeah.
it's great.
Okay.
3 minutes
So
is still
maybe
like
that's what they did.
it
I
might have
I
been
still
time kinda flies when you're in there and things are
I
going,
was gonna
so
say, time was just,
yeah,
weird.
yeah.
So,
So I asked them to do it, and they said that it was extended, and
okay.
I had my husband clip it, and so when
Mhm.
he was about to do it, I re-asked the doctor, I'm like, "Was it extended?" Because it seemed like a short time, so
Yeah.
I don't know, after that story about them taking the organs and doing it something sketchy with it, I have a hard time trusting. Because okay, so
Oh,
another
yeah.
story I heard is because it's easier and more financially beneficial for the hospital to do a C-section, they'll
Mhm,
often try
mhm.
to push that on the mom.
Oh, sure.
Of course, it's for safety reasons, and they'll say like, "Hey, we're really worried, let's do a C-section." But from what I understood from these, like, nurses and doctors that I talked to, um, they try to kind of push it because it'll be faster for them, it'll be easier for them,
It's
and
more
it
money.
is more money, and
Oh,
so
but
it's like a
our world
trend.
is ran on money. Like, I mean, you think about medications, right? You know how that works. You have,
Yes.
a pharmaceutical rep comes in, sells you this or whatever, promotes this medication. Every time the doctor prescribes it, they get money from it. I mean, a lot of people don't know that. And so, anything that they're prescribing to you or they're pushing on you. I mean, so I'm guessing, did you go natural, like, into birth? Like, did you have an induction
I
or anything?
tried. I did go
Yeah.
natural, and then
Okay.
at, like, 6th hour into it, I started
Mhm.
shaking a lot. It became painful,
Yeah.
so I did epidural, and
Yeah, yeah.
we got through. But, we actually didn't do anything besides the epidural for me,
Okay,
and
like, you
then
didn't
with the
have to
baby.
induce your so like, I had an induction, like, we went in the night before, I got, now I can't think of the name, but they, like, put this, like, pill, this little crunched up pill, like, inside of you, and then you go to sleep, and they do a Foley bulb, which I don't know if you know what that is, but it's
Mm-mm.
it basically like ripens your cervix. So it's like a
Okay.
balloon, and it like goes in there, and it, you know. So
Yeah.
anyways, and then I had Pitocin the next day, and it's like that wasn't my plan. Like when I first got pregnant, like I wanted it to be natural. And then, you always think you're like, okay, do I really need an induction? Like there's, you want to trust your doctor because they're the expert, but also,
Mhm.
they're also just a human, right? Like they're not like God, like they don't know everything. And so sometimes I'm like, was that the right decision? I mean, and I had an epidural and all that, but it's like, I loved my birth, like, it went so well, and it was, like, so peaceful, and it was great, but, like, was that, like, the decision that needed to be made? Like, did I need an induction? And why did my doctor decide that? Well, maybe because she was on call that whole entire weekend, like, and so it was
'Cause they have their
convenient
own
for all of us.
schedule. Yeah, I
Yeah,
struggle trusting them because you wanna think that they're doing things to benefit you, but it's also,
right,
like,
but
they try to do things to fit into their schedule. My doctor had asked me if she could the weekend before if she because I think I was already dilating at like 2 centimeters. And she's
yeah,
like,
yeah,
if you want, we can
and
poke it open and let's get this party started. And I
right,
was like,
right, right.
no, let's wait a little bit more. And then over the weekend on Monday, it happened. But it's similar to like influencers, because like you'll get an
Yeah,
affiliate link and you're like, hey, if you buy this thing, I really like it, but I'm actually getting paid for it. And so
yeah,
it's the same thing
exactly,
with the
exactly.
doctors. Like, hey,
It's
I really
yes.
like this thing. It's like,
Right, they're
do
not lying
you?
about it, but
But also, like, so my doctor doesn't have kids. She's been given
okay.
like doing births and all of that. And when I heard she didn't have kids, I was like, wait, so how do you really know? Like, because you're reading the booklet. But then it's
Yeah,
like, well, who put that information in the booklet? The company who wants to sell you the stuff. So of course they're gonna like
exactly,
pump it up and say it's
exactly.
all great. And so because I know there's money involved and there's so much money involved, I don't trust it. And it's hard because when you're in that
No,
situation, you're like, all I need is for my baby to be safe. That's all I
yeah,
need right now. God, please, let's make sure this is going to be a safe delivery.
exactly.
And so, of course, you're going to listen to the experts. You're going to listen to what they're saying,
Right, we're
and you're in
supposed to. I
pressure.
don't think there's another option unless you just completely go all natural and have a home birth with nothing, and there's people that do that and it's successful, but there's people who do that and it's, a
Not
lot of
successful.
unfortunate, outcomes, and I grew up, my mom is an RN and my dad worked in a hospital, not as like a doctor, but just in the hospital setting. And, my mom always, every time we'd go to the doctor, she would ask all of these questions. And I'm
Mm.
just like, Mom, you're a nurse. Like, or why are you not trusting the doctor? And it's not like she doesn't trust the doctor, but she just had a lot of questions. And I think like, when I would go to my baby appointments or, maternity or whatever you call them, she like, did
Yeah.
you ask this, and this? And I'm like, well, yeah, but shouldn't I just trust the doctor? And she never like flat out said like, no, don't trust the doctor. But like, it's good to like know all of your options, and it's good to ask questions and to hear their opinion because like, and luckily I will say like I do love my doctor, and she has, I want to say she has like 3 kids. In fact, she gave birth like right after I gave
Oh,
birth.
wow.
So that kind of made me feel better because I'm like, okay, if she's making these choices for me, you
Yeah.
know, as her own, person who has given birth, like I kind of
Hmm.
trust her, but I don't know, like it's very scary. It's a fine line between,
Yeah.
and that goes back to the classes. Like they tell you, my biggest thing is the wake your baby every 2 hours to feed them. I agree with that, but also it might need to be more than that. And if I could go back in time, I wouldn't have listened to that advice. I would have just, fed my baby on demand immediately. And I truly did not do that until like a month in. I mean, I was
Mm.
feeding him every 2 hours, but like, why did I not do it more? Because somebody told me to. So like,
Yeah.
why did I take this medication, or why did I, get the induction? Because somebody told me to. But,
Yeah.
like, where do you draw the line of, like
And make your own decisions.
exactly,
Yeah.
because feeding your baby, which is so important, is a less risky than, like, your birthing process, right? So,
Yeah.
I don't know, that's kind of how I see it as.
This is another thing. And again, like, I feel like this is like a conspiracy podcast on my end, but this is another thing I heard, and I don't know if it's true, so like don't come after me, people, but I learned that like school was introduced in the industrial era to teach kids a schedule so when they're ready to go to work. And so you have class, you have certain things that you need to do, and it teaches you and preps you to go to work while freeing the mom to also go to work. So it's this workforce enforcement. And so the dad is working, the mom is working, and the kids at daycare, then school, then college, and then on their own working. And so sometimes, and I know it's probably not true, but this whole idea of making sure the kids feeding and napping is on schedule, I feel like this is their like almost indoctrination at the beginning to make sure your baby's getting used to the schedule. So then the mom can get the distance to then pass 100%. It on for your kid to go to daycare, for them to go to school.
It's not like a conspiracy theory. It's true. I
can't claim anything.
No, but it just is like I'm sorry, but isn't it funny that these like sleep training tutorials cost money and they're telling you how your baby's supposed to sleep? And actually, when I went into daycare and I said, I literally apologized. I said, I'm so sorry. My kid is like the nightmare daycare child. He's actually a very good baby. Like everyone that's around him, he's like, oh, he's so sweet. He hardly cries, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, well, I'm meeting his needs, people. But I'm like, but he doesn't like, sleep in a crib or he doesn't just like fall asleep immediately. Like there's a lot of things you need to do for him. And they're like, oh, no, he'll get used to it. He's fine. And I'm like, wait. What do you mean he'll get used to it? Like, what are you going to do? Like,
yeah.
What do you mean? I don't need him to get used to it. I need you to get used to him. Like,
that's
but it's true because they want you to have, and in fact, one of the ladies, she would like, I picked him up one day and she's like, maybe you should try giving him a bottle this afternoon just to get him used to it. And I was like, why? So it's easier for you? Like, no, we're not going to do that. That was like kind of like, the last straw, right? But yeah, so we're conditioning our children. And I'll tell you from being a teacher, and I've taught in high school and elementary school, so I've seen like all the ages, and these schedules that we put these kids on is wild to me. Like we truly are. I mean, even the bells, that's kind of part of the conspiracy theory, the bells, like going off to change classes, like, what feeling comes over that child when they hear that bell change, right? Like,
yeah. But it's like at work, it's like the bell would go off and you're like, oh, now I go to this other shift, or now I have my lunch, it's a set lunch, and then I go home and I have to do this. And then it's this like, I saw this comparison, and this is so evil, but like they compare a jail to a school hallway, and it's very much the same. And you follow this thing. And it's so hard. It is. And you figure out, like everybody learns differently. Everybody does things differently.
Yes.
But it puts you in this box of like, you will follow, or you will be almost humiliated if you do not follow these rules, because then you'll fall behind. You're going to have to do this. You're going to have to do that. And like, I don't know. It's really hard for me, like, grasp my mind around it. Because if you think of it that way, it becomes really difficult to see, like, or to follow through with having to teach your baby, like, oh, I'm going to give you this schedule and make you do these things so it's easier for other people to take care of you. Like, that's not my goal. Wait a minute. Why should I do things?
Everybody else but your baby. And that even past the baby ages. Eventually, like our babies are going to be kids and then adults, and it's like your baby has to be, or your kid has to be potty trained before they come to preschool or something. And it's like, okay, but what if my child isn't ready for that? Does that mean they're not allowed to go somewhere and socialize? Like, there's just so many things, or like, and now you're really seeing it in schools because there's kids who truly have not been away from their parents until they're second graders because of the pandemic, right? So they went to kindergarten and first grade at home. And those kids at school are super struggling because they have been, a lot of people might say they were like coddled and they were spoiled or whatever, but no, they were just at home with their parents.
They were given attention to individually.
They don't know how to walk in the line. What do you think? The mom was like, okay, everybody come down the stairs in a line while I feed. Like, No, and like I would like see a lot of teachers, getting frustrated because their kids didn't know how to follow rules, or they didn't know how to walk in a line down the hallway, or they didn't understand. And I'm like, these kids have not been in school for 2 years. What do you expect? Like, it's a learned thing. And, maybe it's beneficial, but maybe not.
That's
And I think we're going to see that.
that's where I struggle with this whole thing of people constantly saying like, oh, well, your baby will learn, your baby will adapt. And it's like, well, what is it that I want my baby to learn? And what is it that I want her to adapt to? Like, of course, if I put her down and just let her go to sleep by herself, eventually, of course, she would adapt. I would adapt to that. I would
Of
hate it
course,
for a few days, but of course, you adapt. Like as
of
a
course.
mother, we adapt staying up late, or we all adapt. But like,
Absolutely.
do I want her to adapt to that is the question. Like, what is it that
Right.
I want her to learn? What is it that I want her to learn that when she needs me, I'm going to be right there, and
Exactly.
that she needs individual attention, or she learns a little bit differently than everybody else in her class. I can give
Yeah,
her that, and I can provide that for her. Plus, I
exactly.
have this thing where like I don't know what someone's going to teach my baby,
Mhm.
and so I have all these things that I'm like fearful. I'm just like putting on others, but I want to protect my baby, and I know every mother does. And so
Yeah.
I just want everybody to ask the questions. And that's what I was going to bring up. Um, I like that your mom had asked the questions and had asked you if you asked the questions. Because when I went to the
Mhm.
doctor, I didn't know what to ask. And so when she said, do you have any questions? Most of the time I said no, because everything was
Yeah,
kind of going
yeah,
according to the plan. And so I didn't know what to ask. And I just kind of listened to her because she's the expert. Or, if another mom gives you advice, you're going to listen to her because she's supposedly the expert.
right,
And so
exactly.
we kind of float through life listening to other people
Yeah, we do.
and not necessarily questioning like, well, why are we doing it this way? Or is it
Well, do you
beneficial, or
think
who's benefiting from it?
absolutely. Do you think now, like, if you do have a second pregnancy, will it be different? Will you ask more questions, like, the second time around? Because I think if I, get pregnant again, or if I could go back in time, I think I would have a lot more questions,
I
but maybe
would.
not. I don't know.
I feel like I would, but then at the same time, I feel like since I've gone through this first pregnancy,
Mhm.
the experience that I've gained would answer
Yeah.
some of those questions. So I
True,
don't know
true.
if I necessarily would have those questions, but I would, although I love my doctor and I love the pediatrician that we go to, like it aligns with our values.
Yeah, yeah,
And but I wonder if I would do a bigger search. We kind of went to the doctor that would take us because nobody would take
yeah.
us until my 20th week because of the pandemic. And so at 20 weeks, I finally went in. They're like, well, you're kind of, like what else is going on? I was like, I don't know. You tell me. Like, I'm just here for the first time.
Oh, wow,
Um,
that's crazy. You had
yeah,
to
like,
wait for 20 weeks to go to the doctor?
yeah. And so we went and got the ultrasound. My husband couldn't go in with me, unfortunately.
Oh,
And we got the ultrasound. We got the first test, like all this stuff done. 20 weeks.
halfway through.
Yeah. And so, although I think it was a little bit cheaper for us in the end, I can't get into the bills right now. I'm just going to like flip a
Yeah.
switch. But I went to the doctor that would take me.
Mhm.
And granted, there was a pandemic thing and all of that. I would want to do more research to see if I can find a doctor perhaps more aligned with my values, or
Yeah,
like
for sure.
then when I would ask certain questions, I would feel like she'd be more honest with me instead of, again, I don't know who's benefiting from it. And so, because my doctor asked me as well, she's like, well, if we need to, if something this and this, we might need to do a C-section. My pregnancy was so good. Like I had
Yeah,
zero problems.
right, so, like,
She
why
was
was that?
coming. Yeah. And so I'm like, why?
No, I totally agree. The pandemic made it hard for everything. We got lucky. My husband could not come to my appointments, but anytime I had an ultrasound, he could come in.
Mhm.
Um, and even though this is, like, not lucky, but I ended up getting, diagnosed with gestational diabetes, which
Mm.
meant I'd have a lot more, um, ultrasounds. So, like, every week, they would have one, and he could come in, so that was kinda cool.
I do like
Um
that. Here's my question. Did you have to do the diabetes test?
Yes, so I took the first one, and I've heard you can refuse them. I,
Yes.
my mom was, like, just worried in general with
Sure.
me just because we have it in our family and all of that, and so, I took the first test, and I failed it, of course. What is like the hour test, and then I took it
Yeah.
again and failed it. And then I didn't go like on any medicine. Like I just changed my diet. I did, check my blood sugar 4 times a day, blah, blah, blah. And it was fine. Then that's essentially why I had the induction too. So, but then I'm like, but why? If it was managed, my
Yeah.
growth ultrasounds are fine. Like, did I really have to have the induction? I
So
mean, obviously he's cool.
yeah. So I was really confused by it, by the whole diabetes thing. I understand that it's a big problem. I'm from Russia, and so when I talked to my mom about it, she's like, "We've never done that, so like I don't even know what that's about." And so
Right.
overall, I have a fairly healthy diet. Like we eat a lot of vegetables and
Yeah.
protein, and like sometimes like I love donuts, so I'll like, put down a 12 pack, like no big deal. So, but overall, in general, it was a fairly good diet. And then so they brought up this diabetes test, and so I failed the first one as well. And I was like, "Well, of course, I drank this whole thing of sugar, so when
Right.
they're gonna test you, you're gonna be full of sugar." And she's like, "All right, you're gonna have to do it again, but this time it's a 3 hour, and you have to drink a bigger thing." I was like, "If I'm drinking a gallon of sugar that tastes like Jolly Ranchers, I would promise you that it's gonna come back failed. Like I can tell you that right now. We
I
can
know.
just put it all."
I don't get that either. I'm like, and especially with the hormones in our body, but then how do some people pass the test? I don't.
True. And so, but I refused the second one because I was like, I don't think
Okay.
it's going to be healthy for me to drink a gallon of sugar.
Right.
Like, I just
Oh,
don't
definitely
intake that much sugar. And so I just really don't want to do it.
right.
And so she's like, all right, well, what you can do is the blood test. So for a week,
Yeah.
I had to
Right.
draw my
Well,
blood.
why don't they just do the blood test?
That's what I'm saying. Because then I passed that and that was normal. I wrote down what I ate with what,
Of
like,
course.
I wanted, because I was worried with all the things they
Yeah.
told me that
Yeah.
could happen. I was really concerned. And so, and this is not for anyone listening. Like, if you want to take the diabetes test and you do, like,
Oh
you
yeah.
do,
I mean, I'll tell you right now, I'll probably do it again because actually it was kind of good.
yeah, it's not bad. But it just, I get these questions because I'm like, well, why couldn't I just do the blood test
Right.
to do it? Because I didn't like I didn't want to do the 3 hour test because I'm like, I don't want to sit here for 3 hours
Oh,
and I
it
don't want
was
to drink a gallon of things. Yeah, that didn't sound fun to me at all.
and
And
getting
so,
your blood taken like 4 times.
yeah, we had to do things out of pocket too. So every blood test was
Right.
like $700, and I'm just like,
Oh no.
girl, like, can we just act like I have it at this point and
Well,
proceed
no,
with
and so that's what I was
caution?
gonna say. They actually and I see a lot of people will pass the test, okay, but they
Mm,
still and they're like, "Oh, back to eating whatever I want," and I'm like, "No, no, 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 like, we should all be eating, like, pretty healthy," and I will say I was very diligent, in testing my sugar and doing the diet, and I perfect every single time, but there was sometimes where, like, I would cheat, and when I tell you, like, it was, like, keto diet, like, I was low carb everything,
mm,
um, I mean, it was, like, the strictest diet I've ever been on, and when I would, like, cheat, whether it was an accident or not, my
mm.
blood sugar would skyrocket, and so what was interesting is a lot of people have this theory, they're like, "Okay, you've given birth, like, you can go back to doing whatever you want," and that's not true, like, you actually have to be very, very careful. It's like you have 50% more chance of, like, developing diabetes, like,
Oh, wow.
years after you've given birth. So anyways, I checked my blood sugar like for a couple weeks after I gave birth. And it was very interesting because I would eat things that would like skyrocket it when I was
Mm,
pregnant. And it was normal like after. So it really was whatever was
interesting.
affecting my body,
Yeah.
the foreign object that was
Yeah.
inside.
You know what I noticed it spiking when I was testing my blood? It was when I ate gluten. We would have these biscuits that
Yes,
I would make, biscuits and gravy, and like
that would spike it.
gluten would spike it. And now my baby's like, she developed, whenever I eat gluten,
Yeah.
she will inflame with eczema. And then
Interesting.
when I don't eat it, there's nothing. Like on topical, I can put belly butter on it and it goes
Yep.
away. But
Yep.
it's when she ingests gluten is when it'll appear again, which is unfortunate for me because now I've had to cut down the donuts.
I know.
But
I was gonna say, I haven't noticed a lot of things, like, through my breast the baby, um, which thank God, because, like, when I had to, like, limit myself for, like, it seemed like a lifetime, oh my gosh, but that hasn't really but, yeah, it is interesting, like, how a lot of women have to cut out certain things in their diet because it affects their baby, which is
which,
so that's, like, a whole 'nother way we're connected, right? Like,
yeah. And it's important to think like, you are what you eat. And for your baby, they are what you
Literally.
eat. So it's what your food eats. Yeah. And so it's like, what is it? Because it makes you better, you know, like you have
Yep.
to make sure you're intaking good things for them to benefit from
Yep.
it. Because and I'm constantly like, if it's just milk, like let me make sure I'm eating all the chia seeds and all the protein things and all the superfoods. Because like by the time it filters down,
Yeah.
what is it that the baby's getting? And so it changes you for the better, but you can see how needed you are as a mom. Like not
Yeah.
only do they need your breast milk, but they need you to, you know, for mine, she needs me not to eat donuts, which is so unfortunate. But like,
Well, it's
we'll
crazy
make it
too that
through.
like we thought that like when you were pregnant, you had to be careful about everything you were ingesting and doing. And then I remember like so many people were like, oh, like aren't you so excited to have a glass of wine when you give birth, or so excited to do this? And I'm like, well, kind of like y'all do realize that like he's still getting like everything I'm getting. I mean, I'm not saying like I still have like a glass of wine now. I mean, I did wait like a few months, but like just personal choice. But like it's crazy that like when do you get your body back almost? I'm not like complaining, but it's like they truly thrive on you from the beginning until like you're done with your breastfeeding journey. You know,
There's,
maybe longer, just I don't know, you know.
I would say again, back to your TikTok of like the time is
Their
theirs.
time. It's
It's
their time.
their time right now. So like your breast milk is theirs. So your
Yep,
diet is theirs.
it's
And I
theirs.
know it,
And they don't have another choice. It's literally
they
their
don't.
only choice, right? Like,
They're helpless right now. Once they are capable of doing things and choosing their own vegetables,
mhm,
fruits, whatever. But right
yeah,
now they don't. They rely on you to make that right decision to put
exactly.
in the right things in your body because they are going to get some of it.
Exactly.
It's what, hey girl, I'm going to have to cut it short and get to my baby.
Yeah.
But I love talking to you and I want to schedule another podcast if you're
Yes,
down for
no,
it.
let's do it, please. And don't forget to
Okay.
cut off your TikTok live.
Oh my gosh. So one time I had to leave and like go feed her and I just left it here and it was an empty room. So,
That's awesome. Well, this
um,
was awesome. Thank you for inviting me on this.
oh my gosh, thank you so much for joining. I'll text you and we'll set up another time because I had such a good time talking to you and let's do it again.
Yes, we should.
Okay, bye girl. Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks everybody and I'll see you next time.